I want to show you a little bit more about this RAV4. I've had a couple of requests to show the undercarriage of it to see how rusted out. It does have some rust. You know, it's a car from 1996, so it's going to have some rust. But I'm going to show you this car around again, including the engine and startup, just so you can get a little bit more of a feel for this car. Remember, this car is a 96 and it's only got 104,000 miles. It's a baby for a Toyota. And this generation of Toyota is still around. I see this car quite often around this area. As a matter of fact, my neighbor has one, and he has it for sale in the beginning of my street, which kind of, you know, I have this one for sale, so if you don't buy that one, you could always buy this one. This one's a little bit better. This one's a 5-speed manual transmission with only 100,000. The other one is an automatic with 203,000, and he wants $2,300. So they do hold up in value. Yeah, this is a pretty fabulous car. The windows are really large, and you almost feel like you're in a fishbowl. Every other car, including the new RAV4, the windows are a little bit less tall. Like there's not that much room, but this one, you have these massive windows everywhere. So very little blind spots. There's hardly anything on here. You see, like there's not a lot to hide. Plastic two-tone thing. It's you know, if I keep this car, I'm probably gonna do a cross-country trip and drive this off-road, because it is a very good off-road car. It's even got the center differential lock thing. I don't even know what that is, but I hear it's pretty popular. And check this out, tow hitch. The only downside is that the tongue weight is only 150 pounds, because this would be a killer setup. There is a guy in Utah that's got a RAV4, and he reinforced it somehow to carry his dirt bike, so that might be an idea. The spare has got plenty of life. I mean, that's brand new. There is a dent right here. There's like little dents here and there, so it was scraped here. And let's move over to this side. This side's a little bit worse because it's got the East Coast depth, which is this little rust thing. I mean, you know, the thing to do is to cut it and re-weld another piece on here. So here's the interior of the RAV4. You can see it's got 2 airbags, the passenger and the driver. It's got excuse me, it's got the glove box. It's got plenty of storage space, including this. Toyota did use a lot of plastic, so this car has got a lot of plastic, which is, I guess, how they keep the costs down. And so here's that gem, the transmission. It shifts really well. And of course you have your cigarette lighter. You have a little bit of space here that's I think for the time there wasn't cell phones, but your cell phone can be dropped in here, and it's got an incline, so it'll stay in there. You have your cigarette lighter and 12 volt. Then you have this. I'm not really sure what this is. It's like the security thing, I guess. It's got that. It's got the Toyota radio, which is pretty nice. It still's got the cassette tape. So you have your rear defroster, hazards, and then this is pretty cool. That's your center locking, whatever, differential, whatever it is. It's for off-roading. Under 25 miles an hour you would use this, but all-wheel drive in this car, or four-wheel drive, is always on. So I keep getting people asking, like, how do you turn on the four-wheel drive? The four-wheel drive is always on. Check out the rear seats here. And they do have a button here, and you push it and you can bring this forward, and the seats will come up to here. So it gives you a lot of space to carry stuff. Look at this. Look at where they put the place to put the windows, the automatic windows. I've never seen this sort of button on the door. Usually there's like a little bit of a lever. Let's open up the rear trunk. This is something I don't particularly like, this big ass door, because one of the things that's happening with the weight of this door is that the pins are getting a little bit worn down, and it doesn't hit this latch very well. So when you close it, you should be able to hear it hitting the that latch, and then it closes. But when you're driving, it's a little bit loose and you can kind of hear it. And this one is not as useful, but super useful for a car from the 90s. Here is where you would put your storage, your jack tools. It's out of the way. And same thing on this side. There we go. You have an interior light here. And the floor is pretty low. So you could put some sort of vehicle in here. I haven't tried putting my scooter in here yet, but I think it might fit if I took out the rear seats, because you know the Element's got a tailgate. That makes it easier. So let's walk over to this passenger door. In pretty good shape. It's pretty clean for an old car. You also have these storage compartments here. Here's the business side of the RAV4. So if you look in here, you might be able to tell. This one's got 104,579 miles, and it's a very simple interior, which is the way you want it. So this is the underside of the RAV4, and you can tell it's not too bad. I think that left area's got a little bit more rust than this side. So there's the back. That's where the gas tank is. So I think this part is the part that's got a little bit more rust. Right about here, you can see this arm has a little bit more rust, but it's not too bad. It's not bad for the age of the car at all. But this part is a little bit worse off. So let's look around a bit more. So that's what the underside looks like. So you can see there's some rust there. Do you like this car? Do you? Sophie, how do you like this one? I think it's nice and comfortable for your pets too. The cloth always feels good for them, especially like if you have a little tiny one like this. But I don't think she likes the large windows because it gets so much light in here. Like I said before, it's kind of like a fishbowl style of car. It's so exposed. And by the way, look at this. Glass headlights. These do not turn different colors like this Prius here, or fade over time. Oil recently changed, but you can hear the engine. It's really, really quiet. It's got a pretty new battery as well. You could go ahead and spend $20,000 on a newer RAV4, or you can buy this one and have a car that's a lot simpler and will last just as long, especially with 100,000 miles. This thing just needs regular maintenance, doesn't need anything special. Right, Sophie? Doesn't need anything special? No? Yeah, she likes it. And of course you have like four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive all the time. It does get about 25 miles to the gallon, which is not like that Prius. That Prius gets 60. So that's the reason I drive this one more. But this is a fantastic SUV. If you're into SUVs, this is probably like a great buy. And also, it's got the roof rack. They're great cars, even the new ones. My sister just bought a new RAV4, and they're fantastic cars. People rave about them, but for me, a old vehicle like this is a lot cooler, especially this 96, the first year. It's pretty special. The first generation of RAV4 started that whole small SUV craze that people are crazy about. This RAV4 really started it all. because prior to this RAV4, all everybody had in North America were large SUVs that got like 10-15 miles to the gallon, like Tahoes and stuff like that, that sort of style, Broncos. And then Toyota released this really nice, handy SUV. No one really knew what would, you know, if it would be popular. Turns out it's extremely popular, one of their most popular cars. In comparison, Honda released the Element, not that popular, but just a great vehicle. And of course, the Element is not made anymore. The RAV4 is still being made to this date, and they sell tons of them. And parts are readily available. The Honda Element's a little bit harder to find parts, but these are very easy because they made so many of them. And the RAV4 is probably one of the most sold vehicles that Toyota has. Wouldn't hesitate to drive this car to California or, you know, cross country, because it is that good of a vehicle. And I like the idea of having a small SUV that's four-wheel drive, because it kind of makes me want to drive off-road. And of course, this is a very reliable car. You're not going to have any problems with the engine and transmission or the body. You probably have to fix some of the things that are routine maintenance, like maybe the rust spots, but you probably will have a car that lasts for a really long time, which is hard to say for any modern car these days. And because of its simplicity, it makes it a little bit better of a car than the newer complex RAV4s. The newer complex RAV4s, of course, are really great, but they have so much electronics that things are bound to fail. Even with this car, I would prefer like crank windows, because it makes it much easier than power windows, even though the power windows are great, but they tend to break over time. This is a 20-plus-year-old car, and when you look around, it doesn't seem like it's a 20-year-old car. It, of course, is a little dated, but it's a pretty good-looking car. And I see these on the road so much in the DC metro area. Oh, and by the way, the heating and AC work really well. Blows really cold air. It's a great little car. And I mean, the plastic and everything is just in really good shape. He likes this car so much, he just doesn't want to leave. Oh, little Sophie, come here, little one. Come here, Sophie. Give me. All right, Sophie. Good girl.